Hello all, this is Sabrina from the Pug Tail Inn, and in this video I'm going to go through the full process of prepping a dungeon door for D&D. We will go over all the steps from taking it off the print bed to putting it in your setup. Depending on the type of 3D printer you use, the post-processing will differ. If you use an FDM printer like I did here, you will simply have to remove the supports. However, if you use a resin printer, you will need to follow a few more steps. Once the print is done, you'll need to clean the print using isopropyl alcohol. This helps remove any excess resin that isn't cured and is a necessary step. Then using a black light, you'll need to finish curing the final layer of resin. This will make the print safe to handle. With all of our post-processing done, we can start prepping the model for paint. From here, we can start painting the model. The floor and the door frame both need to be painted a light gray. Here, we're going to carefully paint only these areas in the gray. Now I know what you might be thinking. Why don't I just paint the whole thing in one coat of gray spray primer? The answer to that is simple. The door itself is going to be painted in brown later on. I have found that in order to get the color I want for wood, starting with a black base coat is the way to go. So that just means that we need to have a steady hand and only get the areas we are targeting right now. My best set of advice for anyone who's just getting into the hobby: invest in a couple good brushes of various different sizes. You don't want those really cheap dollar store ones that are made of plastic. Yes, it might seem tempting to buy them, but you really only use those as throwaway brushes. Even if it's just a small set of 5 where you have different sizes of brushes, where you start with a really small one and it scales up to just a little bit, having better quality brushes will make your life so much easier. For those with really shaky hands, I feel you. My wife is the same exact way, and she usually has me paint everything, but there are a couple little helpful tricks that you can use. If you use your other hand that you're not painting with to brace the hand that you're holding the brush with, that'll help steady your hand just a little bit more. You can also invest in the wrist wraps that I have, not the exact ones, but some sort of wrist wrap. They've definitely helped me negate on pain, but they definitely help with steadiness as well. No matter what, I've been painting for over 12 years now. I know how to do certain things, so if you're just starting out, don't feel discouraged. This takes a lot of time and practice. You can do it. Just take your time, fail, try again, fail, try again, and you will get this eventually. Everyone does. You can do it. Oh, who's that? Oh, it's just a friendly little slime. Look, he's super squishy because he was printed in TPU. Thanks for stopping by, little one. Now that our visitor is gone, it's time to start mixing up some paint. I tend to have the habit of whenever I have a project, I always tend to mix my own paint. This is both a blessing and a curse, because I can get the color I want. However, I have to match that color every time I want to replicate this project. Yay me. Now that we have a darker gray, it is time to paint the raised parts of the door frame and some of the tiles on the floor sporadically. To make this whole project entirely different, you could just stick with a red base coat and then paint this almost like brick. You wouldn't go with a copper, gold, or bronze accent at all, and then you just go with a darker red. I've done something similar in a brick wall, and I think it might look kind of nice. I'll definitely have to try it out. If you want to see that, let me know. So I would have had some more of the footage of the floor painting, but I didn't have much of it in frame. So enjoy the 2 seconds of that before I switch over to the next color. As an accent color, I like to use bronze to add a bit of variance to the flooring. Use this much more sparingly than the darker gray to not overcrowd the flooring. If you don't like bronze as your accent color, you're free to change it out with anything else. I would suggest probably a copper or a gold. I don't think silver would really work well, and then again, you might just want to stick with a bronze, a copper, or a gold. As alluded to earlier, the door itself is going to be painted brown. I have this dark brown folk art paint that I like to use. I do show the bottle, but I believe it's called Folk Art Home Decor Wax if you're interested. You can see just a little bit of the black bleeding beneath the brown, which gives it a bit of depth. I could add a little bit of a lighter highlight to the door, but personally I like the way that the door looks with just this one shade of brown and the dark wash, specifically for this door. For other projects I've used up to maybe 5 different colors of brown to get the color that I like, but I don't know what it is about this door. I just like the way that just this one coat of brown and that oil-based black wash looks, just to give it a nice grungy door look. If you don't, feel free, add a little bit of more brown, do more coats of different varying shades and colors. You can do way more depth with that. Feel free. You won't do it wrong. From here, all that's left is the metal accents and the door handle. Once again, I find that a black base coat works better here. However, I've also tested gunmetal as a base coat, and that works quite well. If you don't want to use silver, you can always use gold, or like I mentioned before, you can use gunmetal. I particularly am not a huge fan of gold, so I tend to favor silver or gunmetal. I don't know what it is, I just am not a huge fan of gold. If you are, sorry, it's just not my color. It can look good in certain projects. I've done shields that are blue and gold and they look pretty good. But I haven't found a way, personally, to incorporate gold into like a dungeon door. However, if you find a way to, I would love to see it. Now, we get to the point where it's a bit controversial. I tend to use oil-based washes, and a lot of people do not like these because they claim the oil-based paint itself to be toxic. The thinners that you use to make the wash are what is bad for your health, and even then, there are alternatives that you can use. Obviously, paint thinner is the more commonly used and can be quite toxic. However, I found that you can use baby oil to thin oil-based paints, and that is what is used in this video. As you can see, the paint isn't streaking, and it takes about a day or 2 to dry. Still be cautious while using oil-based paints. It's best to do this in a well-ventilated area, and do wear gloves while handling them. Yes, I realized that I'm not wearing gloves. I realized about halfway through that I forgot to put them on, and I was very angry at myself. I do make sure to wear gloves every time I work with oil-based paint in the future. For whatever reason, I just forgot it this time. From here, we're basically done. You can either use this door once it's fully dry, or apply a matte coat of spray polyurethane to add some extra protection. You do not want to go with a gloss or semi-gloss, because this door is meant to look old and grimy. A gloss coat will make it look very shiny, and a semi-gloss will make it look slightly shiny. And here we have the final product. I hope you enjoyed the process of getting here. This is our first long-form video, so we'd love to hear your feedback in the comments down below. More shorts and longer form videos will be coming real soon. Thank you for visiting the Pug Tail Inn, and follow us for more D&D content.